What's good? What's good? I'm back. Triple P, Paul Pickett podcast. Pre-recording for YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and Instagram TV. I'm not live on TikTok today. Apparently, I'm suspended for 7 days because while I was talking about um, pretty much like suppressing speech and whatnot, like like them trying to basically stop free speech and whatnot and free opinion. Somebody apparently didn't like what I had to say, call it hate speech. This is the thing. Just because you hate what I had to say doesn't make it hate speech. That just means you're all in your feelings. It means you're all in your feelings. So we're not going to be live on TikTok. We will stream the pre-recorded version to Twitch and a couple of my Twitter accounts as well. Don't forget the audio version goes to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Slacker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and much, much more. This podcast is also sponsored by Promo Palace LLC at promopalace.biz. If you need online marketing promotions for your music, your product, your brand, or your service, please check out promopalace.biz. Also, if you're a dog lover, you're a cat lover, animal rights activist, and you like t-shirts or hoodies, please check out New Litter Apparel at newlitter.com. This actually is the Dizzle hoodie, which is not available on newlitter.com, but is available on dizzlebrand.com. Check them out. Dizzle brand. Just add ice. Dizzle on ice. Step into the future. Do your Dizzle. Dizzlebrand.com. Got the hoodies and the t-shirts, as well as the online order link for the liquor as well. Normally I get into scores and stuff first. Before I do, I should have got into this a couple days ago, but I'm a busy man, and as I get topics come in, I just write them down and discuss them. Basically, I want to say rest in peace to John Madden. Most people that know John Madden, they only know John Madden from the video game or as a sports analyst. They don't understand that John Madden created that whole Raiders culture that fans loved. John Madden is actually, for all coaches that have 100 wins, he literally has the highest winning percentage. He coached for 10 years. He was really considered a great coach because he got to know his players, everything about them. He built friendships with them, relationships with them. And a lot of coaches nowadays don't do that because players are expendable. They could get traded in a heartbeat. John Madden was successful on three fronts as a coach. Madden is still the number one football game to this day for video games. And as a sports analyst, I mean, he was top dog, man. Top dog, I hope I live to be live as long as John Madden did. Leave my mark on this world. Leave my mark on the music business and life in general, the business world in general. I'm not looking for fame, but I am looking for fortune. So rest in peace to John Madden. Like I said, most people only know him as a sports analyst or because of the video game. They don't know that he had the highest winning percentage for a coach that had 100 wins. All coaches that had 100 wins in the NFL, he had the highest winning percentage. I think he had like 100 something wins and 30 losses. I think it was like 106, 113 wins and 30 losses, which is crazy. 70%, 70-something% winning percentage, pretty much. Let me get into last night's scores. Let me get an NBA first. Pull up some NBA scores for you. Toronto beat the New York Knicks. Of course, the New York Knicks have come back down to earth. Boston Celtics beat the Orlando Magic. Who could have figured? Orlando Magic is like the worst team in the NBA right now. Cleveland beat Indiana. Cleveland is legit this year. I mean, do I think Cleveland could go to the Eastern? Go to the finals? No. Even the Eastern Conference Finals? Probably not. Maybe win a round, depending on who they play. Cleveland could win the first round. Miami lost to Sacramento. Phoenix beat my Charlotte Hornets, which is not surprising at all. My Charlotte Hornets is starting to come back down to earth, even though Terry Rozier is starting to get his beat wet, starting to get back in the rhythm. I think Miles Bridges has come back down to earth, and people start to realize he's not very efficient. Dallas Mavericks beat OKC, and the Lakers beat Minnesota. And let's see. And Minnesota didn't have Karl Anthony Towns. They have Karl Anthony Towns, and they had D'Angelo Russell in play. So, I would hope the Lakers would beat Minnesota with just Anthony Edwards and Pat Bev. I really hope that would happen. Paul's power picks, pretty much still the same as they were yesterday. I got Golden State number 1. I got Phoenix number 2. I got Chicago number 3, Brooklyn number 4, and the Bucks number 5. That's my Paul's power picks for the NBA. NFL, let's pull up the scores. I got all the games I predicted right except for 2. I was off on 2 games. Eagles beat the Washington football team, and I definitely picked the Eagles on that. The Rams beat the Ravens. I definitely picked the Rams on that because I said the Ravens were falling down. Even though the Rams only won by a point, I did pick them. And Cooper Kupp actually, at 1,829 yards, surpassed Isaac Bruce for most receptions in a single season for a Los Angeles Rams player. And they were actually, I think, the St. Louis Rams then. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was part of the greatest show on turf, as they call themselves. Buccaneers beat the Jets. But AB apparently, Bruce Arrington tells him to go back into the game, and Bruce Arians, my bad. Bruce Arians tells him to come back into the game, and AB apparently didn't want to go back into the game, and so Bruce told him to get out. And AB decides he wants to throw his shirt off, and this, that, and the third. Well, AB is no longer a Buccaneer, and more likely the Buccaneers will not win this year's Super Bowl because of that. Now they got their second and third best wide receivers on the team are gone. It's going to be really tough. Titans beat Dolphins. Of course, I picked the Titans. Patriots picked Jaguars. I actually picked the Jags because I thought Trevor Lawrence would just try to outdo Mac and Cheese. But apparently Mac Jones and the boys put up 50 points on the Jags. Patriots have clinched the playoff berth. So Bill Belichick was out of the playoffs for 1 year, and he's already clinched a playoff berth the year later by picking Mac Jones and moving on from Cam Newton, which Carolina's going to be moving on from him too. Raiders beat the Colts. That's one of the games I got wrong. I picked the Colts over the Raiders. I picked Jaguars over Patriots. And, I did pick the Bengals over the Chiefs. I did pick the Bengals over the Chiefs because I felt like the Chiefs were due for a loss, and Bengals clinched AFC North for first time since 2015. So that's the first time in like 7 years, almost a decade. Big up to the Bengals. Joe Burrow has definitely changed the whole culture of Cincinnati in just 2 years. Bears beat the Giants. Of course, I picked the Bears. The Bills beat the Falcons. Yes, I picked the Bills. 49ers over the Texans. Yes, I picked the 49ers. Chargers beat the Broncos. Yes, I picked the Chargers. Panthers got beat by the Saints. Yes, I picked the Saints. Lions got crushed by the Seahawks, 51-29. Yes, I picked the Seahawks. Lions, oh man, they're terrible. Arizona beat the Cowboys. Yes, I picked Arizona. And Arizona was due for a win, and I felt like it was a must win. And, of course, the Packers stopped the Vikings. And let's see. To be honest with you, My power picks probably ain't changing up none. They might change up a tad bit. Number one, I got still the Green Bay Packers. I mean, what more can I say? Top billing. I mean, Green Bay Packers have just been consistent all year long, 13-3, best record in the NFC. What more am I supposed to say? Number two, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even though they lost, whatchamacallit, they won their game. Chiefs lost, and Chiefs still look like they could be vulnerable down there. Number one, Green Bay. Number two, I got Tampa Bay. Number three, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. Number four, I got the Los Angeles Rams. And number five, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. That's Paul's power picks for today. Let's see what kind of what topics we got here. I'm gonna talk about this since it's sports related first. LeBron's tweet about cold, flu, COVID. The left is going crazy right now. They're upset. I guarantee they're throwing a hissy fit because LeBron. They feel like LeBron done turned on them. He's not so woke no more. I've been said this for a long time. I've talked about this with my friends. People try to say the flu cases disappeared last year because of people wearing masks. BS. I'm gonna tell you what happened is they got counted as COVID cases. It's just like, for example, they can't tell. That's the thing. A lot of times they can't tell if a person has died from COVID or if they died with COVID. They can't even tell that. You know, every time somebody my mom works at Chick-fil-A, and every time she would always say, every time she get any kind of sniffles, any kind of cough, they're all like, go home, quarantine. They automatically put colds and flus as COVID. So LeBron is totally right on this. He is right on the money, man. They've counted colds, flu cases, all these cases is COVID. I'm telling you, man. That flu, 40 to 50,000 people die every year from flu-like symptoms. They did not just disappear because people were wearing masks. That's horseshit. Because the COVID cases didn't disappear because people were wearing masks. I mean, come on, that's common sense. If if COVID cases didn't disappear because people wearing masks, why the hell would anybody think flu cases disappeared and the average cold cases disappeared? And I guarantee there was pneumonia cases getting. He probably should have put pneumonia on there, even though pneumonia, you can't give somebody else pneumonia. But I guarantee the symptoms of pneumonia, people will automatically probably point the finger at COVID. So LeBron is right on the money on this. He's finally waking up and smelling the Folgers. At least on this. He's still a lot of things. He's still got a ways to go to wake up and smell the Folgers on a lot of other things. You know. But definitely on this COVID thing, he's waking up, he's smelling the Folgers, he's calling out the NBA, and which is actually basically he's calling out the NBA, which means he's calling out Fauci and he's calling out the U.S. government because the NBA is taking the policies that Fauci is dictating that is being, dictated by his bosses, the U.S. government, and the CDC and all that. So big up for LeBron for finally waking up and smelling the Folgers. Yeah. I see this other thing. Steven Spielberg refused to put subtitles Spanish in West Side Story. All right, so The reason he did this is so retarded to me. It's so this is what happens to go. This is why I say when once you go woke, you go broke. And I think I have to make that T-shirt out that. Once you go woke, you go broke. Cause they put 10 million into this movie. Or no, 100 million into this movie. They've only seen 10 million back. They'll be lucky if they get half the money back. Right. Well, basically, he doesn't want to put subtitles in this movie because he doesn't want to give power to English over Spanish. All due respect, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Because I'm a big fan of Narcos. Big fan of Narcos. And I couldn't imagine that I would actually watch a whole Narcos season or even a whole episode if I didn't have subtitles. If I didn't know what they're saying. I'm infatuated with the Narcos movie. You know what I'm saying? I lived in Panama at a time when Pablo Escobar was on top in Colombia and Pablo Escobar was coming through Panama and doing business, and Noriega was, the general of Panama at the time. I've seen Noriega before. I lived on a Panamanian military base. I didn't live on a U.S. military base. I lived on a Panamanian military base because at that time, Panama was considered our allies, and they technically were. It was just really General Noriega was playing both sides of the fence. He was taking money to give information on communists in South and Central America, and he was also taking money from narcos to traffic money. But this idea that you're just all of a sudden you're giving English power with Spanish, no, you're basically what you're doing is you're cutting out any hopes of making any money in the U.S. market with this movie. That's all you're doing. This is the dumbest thing ever, man. You don't never bring emotions into business, and that's what this is. You're bringing emotions into business. Talking about, I don't want to give power to English over Spanish. Well, you don't want to make money in the U.S. market either, because that's the thing. This idea that we won't like the movie, like, because English subtitles is in it, is bogus. We'll like the movie more because it has English subtitles and we can understand it. Like, you got these movies, these Chinese movies where they take these Chinese actors that are speaking in Chinese on the original movie, and they do a English version of them with some cornball voices. We don't like those kind of movies. We want it to look real. So yes, I will watch a movie where they're all speaking Spanish, and I will enjoy it as long as I have English subtitles. It has nothing to do about giving power, English power with Spanish. It just has everything to do of, if for me to fully enjoy the movie, I have to understand what is being said. How the hell you gonna watch a movie and not know what the hell anybody's saying in the movie? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So Steven Spielberg, if they don't make a single dollar on this movie, so be it. You got what you deserve. Once you go woke, you go broke. You brought emotions into business. You brought politics. There's no place for politics and emotions in business. Soon as a company decides they're going to take a political stance, you are alienating half of your consumer base. Because I guarantee the other half, one half is one political side, another half is probably another political side. As a music promo company, a apparel company, as a liquor company, Dizzle, I guarantee you, Dizzle is never going to take a political stance. And I do not own a percentage on Dizzle. I guarantee they would never take a political stance. Dizzle is about making money, man, and building a Dizzle empire. I guarantee New Little Apparel, we are not going to take a political stance. If any stance we're going to take is going to be against, it's going to be an animal rights stance, which has nothing to do. The left, I can tell you right now, the far left radical politicians don't give a rat's ass about animal rights. They don't give a rat's ass about my dog. And guess what? I don't give a rat's ass about them if they don't give a rat's ass about my dog. Because my dog's life has more value than any complete stranger in this world. I care more about my dog than some complete stranger that don't give a rat's ass about me. And it's idea that I should care more about a human being that doesn't give a rat's ass about me more than I care about my dog that loves me to death. Fuck you. Go to hell. No, it doesn't work that way in reality. You care about the people and the things that love you first and foremost. So yeah, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I'm not going to talk about this one too bit, but Texas wins federal injunction against Biden's mask mandate. Who would have known? Because I mean, unless you're a rocket scientist, you know, most Americans will have enough common sense to know that if it's not written into law, you can't enforce it. I repeat, if it is not written into law, you cannot enforce it. The only reason a lot of these other states are not, you got like 20 something states that have filed a lawsuit against them. Those are all the Republicans states, which are pretty much are right on the money and got it right. This is a government overreach. This is the equivalent to communism and control. That's the thing. Like North Carolina is a Democratic area, so I think our governor's Democratic, if I'm not mistaken. So he's definitely not going to file a lawsuit against this. But yeah, it's a government overreach, and if you don't have enough common sense to know if it's not written into law, they can't enforce it as a law or a mandate on you, then you're dumping in a bag of bricks. And I don't really sympathize with people that lack common sense, because everybody has that opportunity to obtain common sense in life. If you just look around, smell the Folgers, and look at reality, not make believe or fairy tale, imaginary, made up BS. Like a president enforcing things that are not written into law. You don't get to enforce things not written in law. So we're going to go on from that. I'm going to get into a few topics. This one is really funny to me because apparently TikTok becomes #1 most visited site. I knew this was coming. It's funny to me I got to talk about this because yesterday live on TikTok, apparently when I talk about, like suppressing views and speech, colleges shutting down freedom of speech and suppression of views and whatnot. That's when, like, I talked about I talked about non-binary teacher before that, and nobody was like, oh, hate speech, shut him down, he's transphobic. Nah, as soon as I start talking about suppressing speech and suppressing views and thoughts, that's when somebody wants to scream hate speech, hate speech. But TikTok becomes #1. I knew this was going to happen. This is how I knew this was going to happen. I've been doing online marketing promotions since MySpace days. Now, MySpace was still, to me, the most powerful website that a musician ever had. When I first got on MySpace, I was hitting up all these old school rappers. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of these guys were monitoring their own page. So a lot of times, a lot of these old school rappers would reply back with a message. And a lot of times they would reply back with emails and phone numbers and stuff. So I've been, and MySpace is really the birth of social media, even though it was really designed, it was really a platform for musicians somewhat. It had a lot of music stuff going on in it, right? But it was a social network. Now, Twitter came along, Facebook came along, Instagram, all these other platforms that came along now. Now, during the MySpace days, I didn't know much about botting. botting wasn't really, it was a thing probably, but it wasn't really, it wasn't a lot known about it because nobody had social media networks where we had followers and stuff. So it wasn't really a lot known. But then, all these other platforms come in after MySpace, and botting is just super heavy. You can buy followers, you can buy likes, you can buy plays, you can buy all this stuff. So botting is basically somebody takes software, they create a bunch of accounts, and they take those accounts and use the logins with the software to do an action. Play your music, like your profile, follow your profile. Now, every social media platform, you can bot every aspect of it. You can bot the followers, the likes, the subscribers. You can even bot the comments. You can buy fake comments. Just buy comments. Now, when I first got on TikTok, my mentor and good friend Chris Roker was like, "Yo, we need to learn this TikTok. I'm hearing a lot about TikTok." When he says we need to learn TikTok, he really means me. So when I first get on TikTok, I'm like, nah, this is some kiddie shit. This shit is for kids. Then he's like, man, I'm telling you, man, TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. All right, TikTok. Because I'm a marketing advertising guy. I gotta, if it's something of value, I have to offer it. So I'm like, all right, TikTok. So I'm doing my TikTok, and I got maybe like 100 followers. And mostly because I've followed people first, and then they follow me back. And that's typically the number one way for targeting, like targeted followers. You follow people first that might be interested in what you have, and then they might follow you back. You don't ask people to follow you. You just follow them first. Or you just put out good content and you just get people to follow you. You just let them follow. Well, one day I did a post and I had like 100 followers. And I come back, look at the post. I realize this post is moving extremely fast for 100 followers. And then by the end of the day, I realized in 24 hours, I got like 29,000 views on this post. So I'm like, wow, 29,000 views on this post. Like, I've been on Twitter and all these other platforms. You got 100 followers. Unless you're advertising, or unless you just do something that just super goes viral, you're not getting 29,000 views in 24 hours and with 100 followers. That's when I realized TikTok was something different. TikTok was something else. It was something that was, it was the first platform you didn't really have to, I didn't have to go and say, and question, are these guys using bots or not? Is she using bots? Is he using bots? It's the first platform. Because see, this is the thing. TikTok is the first platform. Like I said, you could bot every aspect of every social media platform except TikTok. You can bot the followers. It's not going to do you any good. You can bot the likes. You can bot the plays. You can probably bot the comments. The one thing you can't bot on TikTok is an actual real person recording themselves doing something to your music or your sound. You can't bot that aspect of it. So it's the first platform that I noticed you couldn't bot every aspect of it. And then it was the first platform that I realized these people really just solely made it off of the content and constantly putting out content. So TikTok becoming number one, I saw it coming. Being the most visited site, I knew it was going to happen because I knew it was the most valuable site for musicians, for my business, because it was the first site I seen that you couldn't bot every single aspect of it. And when I pay influencers, I don't have the only thing I look at is are they getting a ton of views and engagement. And long as and past that, I'm not checking nothing else. Like everything you get on Spotify and you look at playlists and you gotta study because there's botting 90 something percent of playlists are being botted. Like independent playlisters, 90 something percent of those are botted. Even major labels are botting their playlists. They're, the only playlists that are probably not botted up is Spotify's actual like rap caviar playlist and their top playlist. You know, and even then, Spotify does some unsavory practices. All right, so Amazon reportedly now this TikTok thing. Just remember this TikTok thing too, because when I get into a couple of these other topics, they kind of like TikTok kind of feeds into these. Amazon reportedly took down reviews of Chinese president's book after the bans. So basically, what happened is the Chinese president pressured Amazon somehow to suppress any bad reviews and basically say that they only want 5-star reviews. Well, that is false advertising and fraud, first of all. So Amazon is basically openly committing fraud and false advertising. I mean, even I got bad reviews online. Yes, I got a lot of good ones on Google. And yes, I gave people incentives to write reviews, but I didn't tell them that they only had to write good ones. I didn't tell them they only had to be 5 stars. If you wanted to give me 4 stars, fine. 3, fine. 2, fine. 1, fine. I mean, you know, but yeah, this is where we are in the world. This goes back to me, being on my TikTok live and somebody calling, my speech hate speech, which I didn't spew no hate speech. I didn't say anything about hating people, hating any group of people, or hating any people, or about inciting violence. This is the thing. There's no such thing as hate speech. I'm going to repeat that. It's only speech that you hate. And just because you hate what I had to say doesn't make it hate speech. And that's what's going on here with this suppressing of views and freedom of speech and thoughts. It's one side trying to dictate what both sides say and think. So, yeah, this is really bad for Amazon. I don't know what the Chinese president would have on Amazon to pressure them like this, but it's not good. It's not fair. It's not fair business practices either. And so Amazon is definitely a lot of the things I hear about Amazon, like what they do to the independent sellers and how like if they see something selling that's popping, they go into the business of selling that product too and putting their reviews up above theirs. I believe all that now. Amazon is definitely doing some, but all businesses that are big as Amazon didn't get there by keeping their hands clean. India will become number 3 economy in the world by 2030. Why is this important? Why is this important? India is blowing up big. Couple reasons. Number one, what apps did India ban? TikTok and a bunch of other Chinese apps. India is not afraid to go at China. That's number one, which is important about this. India is not afraid to go at China. India is going to end up becoming the third behind China. I mean, they're surpassing a lot of places. I mean, like Russia's owns more land for any country than anybody, but their land is so shitty. They don't really got no resources to really make money off of the land or nothing like that. They don't got a lot of fertile farming land or nothing. But this is big. I mean, when the United States became the number one economy in the world, excuse me, had a lot of influence over other countries, where other countries would be like, well, maybe capitalism can work. If China's number one and countries are actually saying, well, maybe communism works, that's not good. We don't never need a communist country being number one economically. So if India could actually come up and pass US and China, that wouldn't even be a bad thing. That would not be a bad thing. India, first of all, is a very disciplined country. Education is their number one priority. And then India, they care more about family. Like, that's two things that America doesn't value at all no more: education and family, which are two important things in life. Education is important, and it's important to have family. If you don't have no family, if you have nobody to lean on, I mean, it's not good. That's not good. So India becoming number third economy is a big deal. They're not afraid to go at China. They're not afraid to ban apps from China. I'm pretty sure China hated it that India like banned those apps because India's population is the second largest in the world, if I'm not mistaken, or the first or second largest in the world. Them and China, India and China, number one populations. And India's got some, I mean, some like Dubai and stuff like that, and like it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, there's not a city in America that is looks amazing as Dubai, and it shit's in the middle of the desert. They made this amazing city in the middle of the desert, and we can't even make amazing cities at all in America. America, we're really, yeah, we're still the number one economy. We're at like 22 trillion. Chinese is at 16 trillion. India is actually at 3 trillion and coming up super heavy. But it just kind of it kind of gave me an understanding like, is Russia really a threat? I mean, even if they got the balls to make a move, which I don't know that they really got the balls to make a move. Because when I think about Japan and Pearl Harbor, and when I did my history on that, like Japan was literally trying to take over the world, trying to take over China, trying to take over the world. Um, and Russia didn't really make no major moves until Germany went invaded Poland, and then they decided to invade Poland and just invade the other end of Poland. Just because they just seen the opportunity of Poland being weak, and they could just stop. If they could invade that side, they could. I guess they could secure that side of Poland or whatever. I don't know. But Russia has never really showed that they really got the balls to make any major moves at all. I haven't really noticed that. I don't think they're that. They might seem ambitious, but I don't know that they really are. And a lot of these other countries that seem like a threat, I don't know if they got enough money to be a threat. I don't know if they economically have enough money to be a threat. You know, I really don't. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I got a couple. Actually, I got couple more topics. Um, I know this one is like it's common knowledge, but I just never really spoke about this, and it just really sums it up of where the Democrats are right now. Like California and New York literally had over 250,000 people leave the state like that, and they all left California and New York, which are Democratic run states, and went to Republican states. Like the fact that people are leaving these Democratic states by drones and going to Republican states should really sum up the state for the Democratic Party. And in my view, the Democratic Party is no different than the party during the Civil War that pretty much didn't care if slavery ended or not. The Democrats were the ones that were holding up slavery ending. The Democrats were the ones that the Republicans had to bribe, I repeat, had to bribe to vote to end slavery. That doesn't sound like a person who really wants to end slavery. Oh, yeah, I'll vote to end slavery only if I'm going to benefit financially. No, that doesn't sound like a person who really wanted to. So, that's the thing. People are so fooled. They think the Democrats are the party of the people of color. No, they are the same party that did not care if slavery ended or not. And they're the same party right now that is pushing communism and control, which communism is another form of racism. That's all it is. Just like wokeism is a form of racism. Because all of them are about power and control. So yeah, that should just say all you need to know. And let me tell you, this is my last thing. Man gets kicked out of store for smelling a candle. Gets kicked out of a Dollar Tree for smelling this candle. I mean, doesn't everybody who buys candles like to smell them before they buy them? Everybody I know that burns candles, they like candles that smell good. I mean, I walked into plenty grocery stores. I would walk into the store, the grocery store. I would walk into the convenience store right now. I would walk into restaurants right now, fast food joints with no mask, and I guarantee ain't nobody about to be yelling at me to put on the yell. First of all, there's a right way and a wrong way to talk to people. Once you start yelling at people that you got no authority over, you're not their boss, they don't work for you, or they're not your child, I mean, you're already in the wrong. There's a right way and a wrong way to talk to people. And the right way is to not yell for no freaking reason. The right way would be, hey, sir, can you please keep your mask on fully when you're in the store? The right way wouldn't be like, put your mask back on. That's not the right way. It just sounds like a guy who's you know not happy with his job, so he's got to take it out on somebody else. And and if you're a business owner, that's definitely not the right way to talk to your customers. If you're a small business owner, don't talk to your customers that way. And it won't like that. It was like a dollar store, but it wasn't like Dollar Tree or Dollar General. It was like one of them other ones. But still, it's like there's a right way and a wrong way to talk to people. And this, once again, I just said that Texas won a lawsuit basically saying that you can't force people to wear masks. The government has no authority over that. And the only reason business are doing it is because the government told them to. The government did not tell them to. These businesses would not be forcing these mandates. Maybe very few, the ones that are scared shitless, fearful of everything, yeah, they'll be enforcing it. But for the most part, these big fast food chains and these big franchises would not be enforcing these mandates had not the government had the government told them they had to do it, which they were morons and jackasses and idiots for even believing that the government had any power to enforce this when it is not written into law. This is just invading and taking away our freedoms one by one by one, suppressing our freedom of speech, our freedom of thoughts, our freedom of views, our freedom of choice, the freedom to choose. Now they're talking about well, parents shouldn't even have no say so what their kids are being taught. Bullshit. Bullshit. If you're going and teaching kids that they're being oppressed by other kids because their skin color, and you're victimizing other kids because their skin color, and these kids don't even know what victimizing and oppression are, racism, and they don't even know what this is. They're not even old enough to understand. Yes, when you teaching my niece and nephew that they're oppressors because they were born white. First of all, my sister and my brother-in-law are the best freaking parents I've seen in my entire life. Black, black, white, green, orange, yellow, purple, Hispanic. I've not seen a better set of parents in my entire life than my sister and their brother-in-law. And they're very religious with their views come from a lot of religious stuff, but I agree with a lot of ways they raise their kids. And I'm not religious at all. I do not believe in Jesus Christ at all. And my sister and her brother, my brother-in-law, do. I don't believe in God and none of that. But I believe in right and wrong. I believe like some of the things. I believe it's. This is the thing. It's tricky. I don't believe nobody really gets to dictate what's right and wrong, but I do believe there's a right way and a wrong way to treat people. If that makes any sense. Nobody really can dictate what's right and what's wrong, but I do believe that the things that we say that you should do to treat people right, like talk to them in a respectful manner, judge them by their character, not their skin color. I agree with all these things, and it doesn't take. It shouldn't have to come from a religious standpoint of view. It should just come from a common sense point of view that if you should treat people how you want to be treated, you know, if you treat people bad, then people will probably treat you bad, And yes, I could be an asshole, but that's mainly in the business world. This podcast, this is business related. I'm not doing this podcast just because I want to do this podcast out of kindness in my heart. My time is money. So anything I do that relates to my time is business related. You know. So in business, nice guys have a hard time. They don't finish last, but they have a hard time. Nice guys get eaten by sharks, is what really happens. But yeah, it's so bogus. A guy's smelling a candle, and you want to cuss him out, flip on him, and you could just go up to him and talk to him like a human being, like an adult, and that would be so much better, And but this is where we're going to. They've used this as a political tactic. I said it. This is part of them using their division tactics. White versus non-white, masked versus unmasked, vaccinated versus unvaccinated, um, oppressor versus victim, as they say. There's just so many things that they use to divide us. Like they call people that don't get vaccinated and don't wear masks domestic terrorists. If I haven't blown no shit up, if I haven't killed a bunch of people, mass murder, blown a bunch of shit up, it ain't freaking terrorism. It's just you trying to trying to make all views be controlled by one view, man. This is a very slippery slope we're going in this country, man. And yes, we don't need Trump president again because then the left, all hell will break loose on the left. We need like a Ron DeSantis, um, Christy Gnomes, maybe even I can't think of his name right now, but Dan Crenshaw. I think his name is Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw, the guy with the eye patch. I would vote for him. I would vote for him. I mean, he was graduated high school in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia. He understands. Like that's the thing. I lived in Panama. I worked for a Panamanian guy who carved and chiseled things in the wood. Like I've never been judge people by the skin color. I never will. Um, do I judge books by the cover? Hey, sometimes I do. Sometimes you can just tell a person is crazy as hell. I'm sorry. Sometimes you this idea that you can't judge a book by its cover. I mean, that's bull. Sometimes the cover says a lot. Sometimes the cover of the book says it all. Sometimes you don't got to read the book. Sometimes the title, the cover says it all. You know, like woke racism. I don't need to read the book to know what this book is about. The title says it all. It's basically saying being woke is a form of racism. The title says it all. So yes, you can judge books by the cover. You know, if I see somebody just, I mean, some dudes just look super crazy, man. They look super crazy, and I'm supposed to just think they're normal? No, you know, there's a lot of things you could judge people off of nowadays. A lot of things you could judge people, like you could judge people off of their political views nowadays, and pretty much sums it up of the mindset of that person. There's a lot of things you could judge people off of nowadays. It really is. Um, and people can say only God could judge me. No such thing. Make believe. So that one doesn't work. That saying doesn't hold no weight. It's like saying the Easter Bunny can't judge me or Santa Claus can't judge me. You know. But once again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. This is Paul Pickett Podcast on episode. Where am I at? I'm at episode 97. 97. Got 3 more to go, and I'm at episode 3 more days. I'll be at episode 100. Put together this press release. Run this ad campaign. I'm gonna take a week off. I'm getting the press release done and setting up this ad campaign after the press release is done. Because I gotta wait a few days for the press release to get written up, and then I gotta release the press release as well. But once again, I'll thank you for tuning in. Paul Pickett Podcast. Don't forget my podcast is sponsored by Promo Palace LLC at promopalace.biz. It's also sponsored by New Litter Apparel at newlitter.com. And for Shizzle, I got to shout out dizzlebrand.com. Check them out, Dizzle Brand. And as you see, I got the Dizzle Brand hoodie on as well. And whatnot. Also, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit the follow, whatever platform you're on. Don't forget the audio version goes to Spotify, Apple, Deezer, Amazon, TuneIn, Slacker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, and much more. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Paul Pickett Podcast, episode 97, aka the Common Sense Podcast, aka the Triple P, aka your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and more. Peace, and I'm out.